Hello folks and welcome to the paddock here at Zandvoort with me, Buxton and him, Lawrence Barretto, where yesterday, Lawrence, big news in the Formula 1 paddock. The news that we'd been waiting for confirmation that Oscar Piastri will be a McLaren driver in 2023 and 24.
Yeah, we had to wait a fair few days, didn't we, for this decision by the Contract Recognition Board. They were looking into whether Alpine indeed had a contract to run him from 2023 or if McLaren, as they were also saying, had a contract to run him for 2023. They decided that it was McLaren who had the valid contract, and now Oscar will drive for them for 23 and 24.
Because, of course, this all came from the fact that Fernando Alonso decided that he would be leaving Alpine to join Aston Martin. As soon as that was announced, Alpine were very quick to state that Oscar Piastri would replace Fernando Alonso. However, Oscar then took to social media to say this was not the case. He would not be racing for Alpine in 2023. A bold move, a bold statement from somebody who hadn't yet made his Grand Prix debut, turning down the team that had supported him, shown him through the junior formulas, and essentially saying, no guys, I'm not staying with you. What we know now though about the timeline is somewhat different as to when certain contracts were signed or unsigned than we knew at the start of the week.
Yeah, so the CRB revealed that indeed McLaren had signed that contract for Oscar to join McLaren on the Monday after the British Grand Prix, and it kind of depended on how other things played out.
So that was July, early July.
Yeah, so it was more than a month ago, and I think what is interesting then is that a couple of things further had to play out, that McLaren had to decide they didn't want Daniel in the car going forward, and then that would release a seat for Oscar to join the team in a race seat. If that hadn't have happened, by the terms of that contract, it could have been that Oscar just stayed as a reserve driver maybe, and then would fulfill a race seat in the future.
It's a bizarre scenario, isn't it? Because Oscar's already McLaren's reserve driver as well as Alpine's reserve driver, because last year they freed him up on a kind of a job share thing. But he's gone over to McLaren, seeing that as having a better potential. What is it about Oscar that has made him so fought over in this paddock?
Well, I think he's probably the most highly rated junior available. I think at the time, a lot of people thought Alpine had him locked down. As it obviously has emerged, they didn't. And when McLaren found this out, they were like, well, we want to create this super young lineup that can go through the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And they really wanted Oscar in the car alongside Lando Norris. They were impressed by his personality, by his talent, by his work ethic. I hear that, at Alpine, he spent hours at the team kind of going through things. The engineers love him. That was part of the reason why he was so upset with the way that things happened, because he couldn't say goodbye and tell them what was happening.
Well, this is it, and you interviewed him. You got the exclusive with Oscar. It's up now on F1.com. I suggest you read it. It's a great interview. Not just saying that, it was a great interview, mate. But he talked about how upset he was, not just that he couldn't say goodbye to the team, but that this big day in his career, the day that all F1 drivers wait for, all junior drivers wait for, to be announced in Formula 1 is now tainted.
Yeah, it hurt him because obviously, like you said, biggest day of his life is what he said. It would have been when he announced wherever he was going to be for Formula 1, and it kind of had that tainted nature, and just the way it played out was just really disappointing for him. And he described it as bizarre, the whole situation with Otmar in the simulator, and when he actually got told they were going to announce him, he was like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
He said, what are you doing? I've told you I'm going to McLaren.
Several times before, he says that they told the teams. Alpine, he believes, shouldn't have been shocked by his position. But I think what's great now is that we know what the answer is. We know that he's going to be a driver at McLaren. He can put all of this behind him and start focusing on what's going to be one of the greatest days of his life when he gets in that Formula 1 car next year.
How have Alpine, who are fourth in the Constructors at the moment, managed to lose both Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri, their past and their future?
It's a good question, and I imagine it's what senior management are going to be talking about right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be going, how have we let the star of the past and the star of the future go? And they've got a big decision on their hands now.
Who replaces?
It's a good question. I think at the start, a lot of people were saying, well, Daniel Ricciardo can go back.
Natural fit.
Which, he'd been there, he'd had such a really strong end to the time at Renault, I think 11 points finishes in a row. But I'm not sure Daniel's decided what he wants to do yet. And that, I think, is why they've gone to Red Bull and said, well, is Pierre Gasly available? Yeah,
and certainly from what we were hearing over the weekend, certainly comments out of Helmut Marko, he wouldn't stand in Pierre Gasly's way if he wanted to go to Alpine. He said, driving for a French manufacturer would be a dream for Pierre Gasly. He won't stand in the way. Esteban Ocon wants Mick Schumacher, but as we know, it's not up to the drivers to decide.
No,
it's up to the team. The question then is, who replaces Pierre Gasly at AlphaTauri if indeed he does go?
Well, this is all assuming that Yuki Tsunoda will stay at the team next year, and you would have thought if Gasly leaves, they want some continuity and they will back him. I think I personally think that Liam Lawson's got a great shout, but we've also heard that Colton Herta has been mentioned in this conversation. You've obviously got a good background in terms of the Indy side of things, and what do you think of that?
Colton's quality. He's very highly regarded, multiple race winner at a very young age in IndyCar, which, as we know, on any given weekend, anywhere up to about 20 drivers can win a race. He's great. Is he the finished article? No, absolutely not. With some time under Franz Tost to knock those rough edges off, do him a power of good? I think so, yes. Does he qualify for a super license? No. At the moment, he doesn't. He has 32 points, so he'd have to do some FP1s at the end of the year, which would take him up to about 38 points. Maybe the FIA would fudge those final 2, or, and this is a strange one, because the Indy Light season he ran didn't have enough full-time drivers, that season only qualifies for half points. If the FIA were to say, we'll allow that to qualify for full points, he would qualify for a super license this year. So maybe we could see him contest the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the end of the year, get his super license for a full debut in 23. Other than that, I don't know, maybe they give a higher weighting to IndyCar and then they retroactively enforce that. They're going to have to fudge it if they want Colton Herta in Formula One, but there seems to be a drive towards Colton, either with that Andretti entry or indeed to replace Pierre down.
And he's got links with these guys as well.
He's tested here, they love him, they think he's great, and they've said they won't stand in his way if he wants to go somewhere else. We've talked about Mick Schumacher, there's a seat free at Haas as well.
Well, this is the thing. Gunter has been saying for a while now that it's not certain that Mick Schumacher is going to be in the car next year.
Or leave. Everything's on the table.
This is the thing. So I think he's got a few more races to prove he deserves to stay. But I do think that Haas are kind of assessing their options. I know that they would love Daddy Ricciardo if he wants to stay and he believes in that project. You know, other drivers have been mentioned, Antonio Giovinazzi coming back after a year in Formula E, Nico Hülkenberg may even coming in there. That seat, I personally think it's quite a lucrative one, really.
It's a great one. The trajectory the team's on.
Exactly, and you could see maybe that in a 2-3 years' time, that team being a regular high-scoring points finisher in the midfield.
Talking about trajectory, Williams as well have got a seat alongside Alex Albon for next year. Personally, I'd love to see Nick de Vries in the seat, but there's no guarantee on that. No guarantee on who will get that second Williams seat.
No, so Yost has kind of given Nicholas Latifi a lifeline. He's gone, look, if you can prove to me on track that you deserve a position at this team, go out and show me. If that doesn't kind of play out, I think Logan Sargent's got a great chance of stepping up. Williams really want to push their driver academy. They're really kind of changing the way it operates, and they want to bring young talent through. And this will be a great example of being able to do that.
And then there's the Daniel Ricciardo question. Where does Daniel Ricciardo end up? Does he end up in a race seat at all?
I honestly don't know. My feeling, having talked to him a couple of times now, on and off the record, is that he genuinely hasn't decided what he wants to do. Does he want to stay around here, the world that's been his office for the last 10 years? And does he want to do it at a team that probably isn't going to give him a race-winning machinery?
So this is the thing. Wherever he moves now, likely won't be able to give him a race-winning car. And his whole blinkered position of, I want to stay in Formula One, and he said himself, I've got F1 blinkers on. But that revolves around him still having something to prove. Can he prove that at a Williams or a Haas? There's a rumour he may even end up at Mercedes as a reserve driver next year, and it is only a rumour. Other than that, would he take a sabbatical? Would he go and race anywhere else? As he says, his focus, his blinkers are on F1.
So what I've got so far from what I can glean is I think the sabbatical is going to be the one that he takes. He can go away, go and do some fun stuff, take a bit of a break, kind of get his head in a good place, maybe even assess, like you said, some of the other opportunities that are out there, and then hope that come 2024 that there is a race seat that can offer him that winning opportunity. Maybe a reserve role, like you hinted at, that's been rumoured, is a good way of like dovetailing. Maybe come to a few Grand Prix, keep himself in the mix. Maybe that is the way. But I think that's where it's leaning, because I just think he's looking at Alpine, he's looking at Haas, he's looking at Williams and thinking, you know what, probably isn't the right project for me.
Well, the first domino has fallen, and that is that Oscar Piastri will be a McLaren driver in 2023 and 24. Which is the next domino to fall is only a matter of time. But once that one falls, the others, I think, will slot into place pretty quickly. That's it from me and Lawrence here in Zandvoort. Thanks for tuning in, folks.